E aí galera, eu sou o Guima e nós estamos aqui para entrevistar um grande baterista, que foi baterista do Black Sabbath, do Ronnie James Dio e um bando de outras bandas super legais. Senhoras e senhores, apresento vocês ao meu, se eu posso chamar de amigo, Vinny Appice.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank you very much. First of all, man, it's a great pleasure to meet so many drummers that made my career happen, or the reason why I started playing. You're one of them.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure. And I've got a few questions of my own, and 3 questions from the audience.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so let's start a little bit. Tell us about you. We all know that your brother Carmine is also a drummer. Tell us how was the growing up with a brother playing drums? How did it all started for you?
Well, he's 11 years older than I am, so when I was a kid, there was drums in the house, and then he used to play and I watch, and then he had the bands come over and rehearse. So I used to sit there and watch the band rehearse, and so it got me inspired. Like, wow, this is amazing. So I want to do the same thing. So that got my fire going, you know. Got me, then I started playing and banging on the drums, and then he'd teach me a little bit, and so that's how I got going.
Is he your only brother, or you have more?
He's my older brother. Then there's one more brother, Frank. He doesn't play. And then we have a sister, Teresa, and she doesn't play. Just me and Carmine.
Cool. Did you guys get in a lot of fights, or it was like very?
No, you know, see, 11 years, so he was out on the road a lot.
Oh, okay.
Gone, you know.
Did you start playing his drums?
Well, I started playing his drums when I was a little kid, banging and broke the cymbal, and he would get mad. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I was banging with sticks, and so then I got a little older, and it was cool. But he was already out of the house playing on the road, and then he left me some drums, and then I bought some other ones, and I was able to practice and stuff.
Cool. I was reading a little bit about in the internet, and there's a story. How did you meet John Lennon?
We met John Lennon in Record Plant Studios, New York City. And my band was managed by the Record Plant Studios. And we used to rehearse there every night. And one night they called us to come down and do hand claps. The song,
hand claps?
For the song, Whatever Gets You Through the Night. So we went down and we saw John Lennon and, oh my God, wow, freaking out, you know. So we did hand claps on that song, and then we went back to our room. And then a little later on, John must have said, who was that? What band? And the producer was Jimmy Iovine from Interscope Records, and he said, that's the band upstairs, and he's producing us. So then a couple days later, John walks into the rehearsal room, sits down, watches us play. We're like, ah. Then he asked us to do, we did 3 videos with him, and then we did a live gig, which was his last show ever.
Really?
Yeah, it was 1975, I don't know what month. It was in New York City, taped at the New York Hilton Hotel, Wide World TV special.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Were you a great fan of Beatles?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Still am.
Me too. But what about Ringo?
Ringo, yeah, Ringo was great, you know, and he's underrated, but the stuff Ringo played, so creative. You know, there's parts in there, and then he stops, and he plays, and he stops. That's very creative stuff. So he's not technical, like Buddy Rich or John Bonham, but it's great drum parts and all the Beatles stuff.
A lot of tom-toms and creative stuff, right?
Effects and colored the song, you know.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Absolutely. Well, did you meet Ringo?
No, never met anybody else.
Okay.
Just John.
Did you meet Yoko?
No.
No. What about? Tell me about the day you got invited to play with Black Sabbath.
I got a call from the tour manager, Black Sabbath, Paul Clark, and he said, hey, we're in town, we're looking for a drummer. We're in the middle of a tour. Bill Ward left the tour. We heard about you. So, can you come down? You interested? Come down, meet Tony at the hotel in Los Angeles. I said, yeah. So I went down and talked with the tour manager a little bit. Then Tony walked in. He had one of my albums I made. He liked it. And we got along really well. So he invited me to come play with them the next day. So I loaded up my 1967 Ford Mustang, and I put all the drums in the back seat, drive up, and bring the drums in. And then I met Ronnie the first time, Geezer, and Jeff Nichols, the keyboard. So we played, first song we played was Neon Nights. And I didn't really know it, but I just played it, and when I remembered. And everything, we played something else. I don't know what else we played, but they said, okay, that's good, you're in. So
that was the audition. Okay.
But then Tony didn't like my drum set. It was too small.
Oh, really? What drum set was it?
It was a Ludwig, but concert toms, one head.
Okay.
No two heads, one head. Just two toms, three cymbals. I actually like the set in there.
Okay.
So he wanted me to play double bass. I said, I'll play double bass. So then I just added more drums. And every year I added more and more drums and more until I got a big giant drum set. So.
Okay. Did you collect anything related to drums during your career? Snares?
I didn't.
No?
No, I just blew through a lot of drum sets and got rid of them back a while. I should have kept them, but I don't know. I got rid of them because so many drums. And
too much space.
Yeah. Our garage now is full of drums.
Really?
Cases and drums and more drums. And, yeah.
So tell us about you're playing with any bands now, or?
And now is the original Dio band. It's called Last in Line.
Uh-huh.
And it's Vivian Campbell on guitar, Jimmy Bain, and our singer is Andy Freeman. He's from Los Angeles. He played with George Lynch a little bit in Offspring. And he's in a show in Vegas called the Rock Vault. Good singer, great singer. Writes, great writer. So we did a bunch of gigs. We started out jamming, Viv, Jimmy, and I. Hey, let's jam one day. So, okay, and we played all the old Dio stuff, and it was fun. We did it again, and then I invited Andy to come down. He came down, and he sang and blew everybody away. Oh, shit. Viv loved him. So we booked some gigs. We did about 4 gigs around LA, Las Vegas. Then we went over to Europe, and we did 4 or 5 shows there. And then we won in Japan. And then we got a record deal, Frontier Records. So all this year and part of last year, we're working on writing and recording the record. And a good friend, Jeff Pilson, bassist for Foreigner, who's producing it. He's a great producer, great sounds. So we just finished now. And it's going to come out in January 16.
What's the name of the band?
It's called The Last in Line.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't call it Dio.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking before the interview, Dio must be like huge in Italy. In Italy, this Dio must be huge.
Yeah.
They love heavy metal and everything.
Well, even more here in Brazil, the reaction for the music from Sabath and Dio and heavy stuff is amazing. People love it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because my mom lives in Italy, and Dio means God in Italian, right?
Yeah.
So he's like a god rock for Italians, maybe, I don't know. I know they love heavy metal pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'll throw you some questions from the audience. Here we have Johnny Braz asks, in your opinion, what are the most common relationship problems between members of a rock band?
When you're in a rock band, it's like being married to 4 guys, or if there's any girls in there too. You know, you travel together, you live together, you're always in close quarters with those people, so it does create problems, you know. Sometimes just silly little things cause a problem. A big problem is when people are late or drunk.
Okay.
You know, they let the band down. You know, the band's there and somebody's not arrived yet, and everybody's waiting around, and you're killing everybody's time, free time. So things like that, and not playing good every night. You know, you got to be a team. That's why it's called a band. It's like a ring. Everybody's in a circle, carries their own weight, and keeps it going. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Luisa Moraes, girl, is asking, how was for you to substitute Billy Ward, and what is the most difficulty you faced in the music industry?
I mean, you know, Bill left the band, and they said, I went down, and they said, okay, you're in the band. So I just listened to the music, and I listened to what Bill played, and tried to copy some of it, and then I played it with my style too. So it's like 2 things together, and it fit, you know. And listen, you know, a situation like that, you go in with your ears open, listen and learn.
Sure.
So rather than going, well, I play like this, and it doesn't fit, or you know, they're not happy. So you keep your eyes open and make sure it's working. So that was easy. And then the difficulty
or hard times in the music business. Did you have any?
Right now, I don't even know what the music business is. I have no idea. I mean, there's no record stores. There's not like we live in Los Angeles. The radio sucks. It's better elsewhere. You know, new bands put an album out. They don't play it. Then everybody downloads it for free, and it's a mess. Can you say fuck?
Sure.
It's a fucking mess. You know, because people need to earn money when they play music, just like you go earn money when you go to work. Everything, you know, costs money to make an album. You can't just give it away for free, but that's crazy right now. So I don't know what's going on. I'm glad I grew up and made noise in the 80s and built myself up, because it's hard now.
You told that you got a record deal. That's pretty hard nowadays.
Yeah, but we're a name. It's a name built-in following, because it's Dio. It's the original Dio band. Vivian's coming off of Def Leppard, you know, and I've never stopped, and it's built in. That's easy. But for new bands like these guys and stuff, everybody makes CDs. Years ago, nobody had CDs. You had to have a record deal. You give you CDs, all the artwork, and everybody's got it. And there's so much competition, and then the internet is good in a way to get your stuff out there, but the whole music industry is pretty wrecked.
Yeah. Okay, Leonardo Barbosa is asking, how does your friendship with Dio influenced your professional life?
Well, I met Ronnie when I went to play with Sabath, and then we hit it off right away. And then, you know, I think we went right on the road. We got along great, so we started hanging out on the road and become friends. And then when the tour was over, we was really good friends, and we'd hang out, you know, with each other, and we both had houses. We liked fixing the houses and all sorts of stuff we'd do together, and so we became really good friends, and it was a great relationship with Ron.
He was a great bass player and a record sound engineer, is that true?
Not much of a sound engineer, no. He was a bass player, started playing bass. Then he started singing because they didn't have anybody to sing in the band. All right, I'll sing. But he played bass, and when we left Black Sabbath in '82, it was just me and Ronnie, and we'd go in a rehearsal room and he'd play bass. He played a little bit of Holy Diver. Boom, 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 boom. And I played the drums, and that's all we had. So he was playing bass a lot. And then we'd audition guitar players, he'd play bass. It was cool.
How can people find more about your work? Do you have a website or Facebook page or something like that for people to visit?
It's my name, www.vinnyappice.com, and it lists stuff up there as a Facebook. And then also have a show with my brother Carmine called Drum Wars. We play together with a band. We play all the different music, and then we do drum battles, and it's a cool show. We might come to Brazil later in the year. So, and that's drumwars.com. But everything could be found up there.
Okay. Last question. We have a large audience of drummers, people that are starting, and what would you say to them starting now? How can they take their career to a next level? What would you say to them?
I don't know. Just play from your heart, practice, get good, listen. And that means listening to people in the band and listening to what you're playing. When you play with people, listen to what the guitar is playing. I like listen to everybody. Bass, don't just play in your own world. Listen and be a nice guy, be on time. You know? And and people will want to work with you. You know? Hey, he's a good guy, he's a good drummer. He's on time, no nonsense. So he'll get more work that way. And practice, play from your heart, always play.
Great. Well, thank you very much again. Have a great gig. And
sorry, I'm sick.
Valeu, galera. Até mais.
Então, por favor, uma salva de palmas para Vinny! Vinny Appice! One, two. How you guys doing? You want to hear some Black Sabbath? Some Dio? Air Supply?